Welcome to another edition of the Sooner Pocket Podcast. www.soonerpocket.com. Make sure to check that out. Lots of good pregame and postgame content, game recaps as well. So good stuff there. Chris, it's good to see you. We are here on Wednesday night after the first injury report of the week has been released. We are still light at wide receiver. And the defensive side of the ball is going to be missing two really key players again. How you feeling going into Saturday?
I wish I was more confident. I really do, but I don't know. I don't have much confidence going into this game. Kendall Dolby, he's going to be out pretty much the rest of the season, if I remember correctly. Gentry Williams, I have no idea what's going on with him. But it's funny. Those are the two players who got interceptions on Texas the first two drives of last year, and now they can't even play this year. It was encouraging to see Deion Burks move from out to questionable. Uh, but seeing Andrew Anthony just completely listed as out. Taylor Tatum, he's off the injury report. Same for Dasan McCullough. I take it that means they will be available on Saturday. So I hope that they're going to find a role. I just I don't know. I'm kind of getting tired of our athletic training staff. We seem to have just beaten our guys to oblivion, and there's no one there who seems to know how to patch them up.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact cause of it is, what's going on with our guys. But Gentry Williams, I think I heard somewhere he's got a shoulder issue. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but it's what it is. Before we get too far into OU Texas, looking back at week 6, we had some good ones. Most notably, Vanderbilt pulling off the ultimate upset, likely going to be the upset of the season. And it's interesting to say that this early in the season, but at this moment, I can't think of any teams with a game that they could realistically win against a top 10 team where that upset would be more monumental than what Vanderbilt did. Vanderbilt, the stat line, the score, it was a one possession game. But when you look at the stat line on that one, Vanderbilt just they whipped Alabama a bit,
Dominated
especially
them.
from the coaching side, the strategic side. I would not say they had the better athletes out there. I would say they knew how best to use their athletes against Alabama, where Alabama was not able to adjust accordingly against Vanderbilt. Um, we had probably the beginning of the end of Mac Brown, as if the James Madison game didn't do it, losing by 2 scores to Pitt. Texas A&M ran all over Missouri, and threw all over Missouri and beat Missouri. Very nice to see Mid-Pooh get eaten up by the Fighting Aggies, who I am now again vehemently rooting against, down with the little toy soldier regime. And Florida State left their chance back at relevance, at image rehabilitation. They left that all on the field against Clemson. So it was an interesting week to say the least. OU obviously wasn't playing, so it was nice to be able to have kind of a stress-free Saturday. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, and I feel like Joe Castiglione and Brent Venables might have had a crystal ball. They knew the exact right week to pick for to take off for a bye week. And even the ones that didn't end up being upsets, Cal, I don't know. I hated the way that there were a lot of reasons they lost that game. It wasn't the officiating, but the officiating certainly didn't help. That was it was getting pretty terrible at the end, but they absolutely should have beat Miami. It was fun seeing Lincoln Riley lose yet another game that they should have won and hear him say how close they are right
To
after.
Minnesota.
I think he said what that they're 2 plays away from being potentially 5-0. Uh,
They're two
it
plays
was
away from being worse than Clay Helton, like substantially worse than Clay Helton.
And then you got a rematch of the national championship game, which most years you're like, oh heck, we get a rematch of the last year's title game. That should be the game of the week. But it was a unranked team versus a team that really doesn't have much business being ranked. And so that was interesting to watch. Still a good game. I tell you, Sam, you said that you don't know if there are any other upsets that could happen like that. Alabama, they played Georgia, and then the next week they went to go play Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt. They played Georgia at home, and then they played Vanderbilt in Nashville. They beat Georgia and they lost to Vanderbilt in Nashville. Now let's look at the team we're playing this weekend. Texas, after this game, they host Georgia in Austin, and then they go to Nashville to play Vanderbilt. Coincidence? I think not.
We'll see. We'll see. I wouldn't hold out hope on that one. On to this week's game. Michael Hawkins being featured in some Dr. Pepper spots. Maybe a Fansville appearance down the line. Never know. We'll see. But he's going to be starting for us this week. I think if you asked around the block, asked around even the coaching room at OU preseason, nobody would have said that come Texas, Michael Hawkins would be starting for the team, would be the starting quarterback for our team, and Jackson Arnold would be 100% healthy. Those are two things that I don't think would have gone in the same sentence. Hawkins showed some real glimmers of hope in terms of being able to work with what our offensive line gives him and what our receiving core gives him. Showed those a couple weeks ago against Auburn. I don't know about you. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do to maybe spread this Texas defense out a little bit. I know our formations right now really run pretty tight. We keep kind of a consistent 6 or 7 guys in the box, and with our offensive line right now, it's hard to run on 6 or 7 guys in the box. So definitely looking for Michael Hawkins to maybe spread the defense out with his running ability a little bit, ability to get to the outside, be able to unleash some throws, hopefully get some nice play action working, and God willing, have something of a run game. I think these are the things I'm looking for on offense. It's all going to start with Michael Hawkins and what he can do to spread out that Texas defense a little bit. If we're keeping them in tight there in the box, there's going to be some pressure. There's not going to be many quick throws that are going to be available to him. And he's going to be forced to use his legs. He's going to be one-dimensional at that point. And games, for the most part, don't go well when you are one-dimensional. What are you looking for from our offense this week?
I'm hoping that Seth Luttrell and Brent Venables let Michael Hawkins air it out, because something we saw from him that we didn't see too much, like we saw a little bit of with Jackson Arnold, but we didn't see too much of, was downfield accuracy. We saw in that first game of the season when Jackson Arnold dropped that dime into Jalil Farouk before he got hurt. We saw when he dropped in that beautiful pass, but then other than that, he didn't really have much luck downfield. He either overthrew guys or threw interceptions. So there wasn't really much of that. But then you've got Michael Hawkins, who against Auburn only threw 15 passes, but completed 10 of them for like 150 or 151 yards. One of them was a 60-yard bomb to J.J. Hester, and it was a perfect throw. It could not have been a better throw. And so we know that Michael Hawkins has the running ability. We know he has the accuracy. We know he has a cannon for an arm, because that ball, it was in the air too for about 60 yards. And it is so hard to throw that accurately that far down the field, but he made it look like it was nothing. And so even with our backup wide receivers out there, if we can just get a little separation, I know that Hawkins can hit his guys. Our offensive line did have, according to PFF, their best game of the season against Auburn. And I tell you, Michael Hawkins, he actually had a better passing grade against Auburn than OU has had at any point this season, 71.6 according to PFF. But I want to see the air attack. I know that we're going to try to run it a lot, and I know we're probably going to have issues with the run. No idea if Sawchuck's going to see the field. No idea if Taylor Tatum's going to see the field. No idea if our offensive line will be able to hold up against that stout Texas defensive line. But I think that we need to be able to throw the ball because Texas is going to be selling out against our offensive line. I think they're going to be bringing a lot of pressure. They're going to be bringing five guys on almost every play because they know our offensive line can't handle it. And it's a true freshman quarterback. They want to make him make mistakes. So I want to see us really air it out to where we can run the ball.
I'm interested to see if we establish a run game, which, gives Hawkins the ability to throw more downfield on some play action stuff, how that Texas defense will hold up. I was doing some research on this. Texas has not faced a top 50 offense yet. And by the end of Saturday, they still will have not faced a top 50 offense. But the level of talent that we've got at the quarterback position and some of the playmakers that we have at other skill positions there on offense, they're not our ones, but our twos, they've got talent. They're there for a reason. I'll be interested to see how they do because this is a Texas defense that's third in the nation in total defense. And again, like I said, they haven't faced anyone in the top 50 yet in terms of offensive production. So that can sometimes skew things a little bit. I know we've faced one top 50 offense, Tennessee, and held them to 25 points?
Yeah, 2 touchdowns. And if I may add on to that, I just took a look at something per PFF when it comes to just the overall offensive grade. We've also faced Tulane, who they have as the number 7 offense in college football. Do with that what you will.
Yeah. So I would say between the two defenses, Oklahoma's probably been a little more tested. So that's what I would say there. As far as our defense against their offense is coming in averaging over 500 yards a game. Same stat here, though. They have not faced much, really, in terms of defense. In terms of opposing offenses. They're 7th in the country in total offense. The highest ranked offense they have faced is Michigan. And Michigan's the 48th ranked defense. I got all over my words there. They're 7th in the nation in total offense, and the highest ranked defense they have faced is the 48th ranked Michigan Wolverines defense. So again, not terribly tested, but it's what it is. They've got Arch Manning, they've got Quinn Ewers, both have proven themselves this year. Arch Manning's their leading passer. I would say, Quinn Ewers is going to be the quarterback out there. Sarkisian has said as much. But what I would say is I look for Arch Manning to make an appearance in this game. My hope is that it's not a, give the ones the rest of the day off type appearance. I'm hoping more so it's maybe on a trick play or something to try to catch us off guard. Good thing is we've got substantial film on both guys now, limiting Arch's legs. And when it comes to Quinn, trying to keep him in the pocket as much as possible at R. Mason Thomas, Dejon Terry. Let those guys really get in there and rattle his cage a bit. Be interested to see if Quinn is rusty. This will be his first game since week 2.
No, he played I think it was week 3 that he went down because week 2 was the Michigan game and he played the entirety of that one.
Yeah. Yeah, you may be right. Well, Arch Manning, he's lit it up well in his time there so far. But yeah, I think ultimately for our defense against their offense, we're looking at an offense that just doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. They're safe. They've got a good running game. Ton of individual rushers on this offense that have all done well. They average about 5 yards a carry as a team. So we're going to have our work cut out for us on defense. I don't think it's anything we can't handle, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, and something that we need to be able to do consistently is just pressure pressure. Quinn Ewers is a check down merchant. He can throw the occasional nice deep ball, but 99% of his throws, it seems like, are within about 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. If we can just get pressure on that, we can limit checkdowns all day long. All we need to do is just get pressure to where he can't throw those yards 15 to 20 yards, all those passes 15 to 20 yards down the field, and we'll be fine. But our secondary, it's going to be tested because we don't have Kendall Dolby. We don't have Gentry Williams. Gentry Williams, I think, has only played one snap this year. It was a game. It was in the game against Houston, and he was targeted. He tripped and fell and went out for the rest of the game. Hasn't been back in a game since. So we're down two of our best cornerbacks. And then you've got Jacoby Johnson, who I know has made the change to wide receiver. We didn't use him at all a couple weeks ago. Don't know if we'll use him this week as a wide receiver, but that's someone who's not out there defending passes. Now, the guys we've got out there, they're great. We've got Robert Spears Jennings. We've got Peyton Bone. We've got Billy Bowman, who's had kind of an off year with coverage, but he's still not been too bad. We've got Woody Washington out there. We've got a solid group of guys, but we need to force Quinn Ewers into those checkdowns with both pressure and coverage down the field. We need to force him into situations where he just has to get rid of it quick because our linebackers, they can stop that all day long. I have no doubt that Danny Stutzman and Kip Lewis can go out there and shut down those checkdowns like it's nothing. I am kind of curious to see how our defense shows up against them, especially with that RPO scheme that they run. Tennessee, we had a really solid defensive showing against them, but they don't really do too much RPO. They're either running it or they're passing it. There's no option in there really. Texas, 60% of their offense, if I remember correctly, is RPO. Like that's 90, that's most of what they run right there. And so having to have the guys ready to stop the run game, but also not abandoning their coverage and leaving guys wide open down the sideline. That's going to be tricky, but I think that begins and ends with pressure. If we can put pressure on Quinn Ewers and or Arch Manning, then we can control the game on defense.
Absolutely. When it comes to game control, you and I both talked about it a bit. The ability to run the ball. Whoever can run the ball in this game is going to win. For that reason, I'm really watching Taylor Tatum. On our side, I'm making the assumption here that he's going to be playing this game. He's fast, he's agile, he's fast. He's got great upfield vision. Having him back has the potential to be a huge spark to our offense, especially having him back there with Michael Hawkins, hit a little speed option. Some screens, something like that gets the two of them, two very fast guys, really gets them moving. Going to be interesting. Texas has Gunnar Helm at tight end, averaging 14 yards a reception this year, which is insane to me. Against Texas' best opponent, Michigan, he had 7 catches, just shy of 100 yards there. Great in the running game as well. He blocks. He's a big dude. So Gunnar Helm, I think, is my guy for Texas to watch on offense this week. Taylor Tatum on the Sooner side. It's going to be an interesting one. Who are you looking at for both OU and Texas offensively?
I'm going to start off with Texas. I'm going to start off with their number one running back right now, Jaden Blue. He's having a heck of a year. 4 touchdowns, 238 yards, averaging 4.7 yards per carry. He's really doing a good job of finding space and breaking tackles. He is incredibly difficult to tackle, and he can really move. He is one fast dude, and so he's going to be hard to stop. And we're going to need both linebackers ready to make plays on him because of how difficult he is to stop. And then with offense, I know some people might disagree with me here. I've got Bauer Sharp. He's been one of our most consistent guys on offense all year long. Despite the fact that a couple of his plays were taken away by penalty, or he committed a couple penalties against Auburn, he still was a huge player for us in the pass game against Auburn. And this year he's been solid. He he has a whole bunch of catches and they're going for big yardage. It's not like our tight end game last year. You know, something to note is that he's already pretty much doing the exact same. He's already done the exact same thing up to this point in 5 games that Austin Stogner did in the entirety of last year. Bauer Sharp had 18 catches, has 18 catches in 5 games. Stogner had 17 last year. Stogner had 196 yards. Bauer Sharp has 159. Both of them only have one touchdown to this point. But the difference is Stogner did that across 13 games. Bauer Sharp has done that in just 5. And so we're definitely seeing much better play from the tight end room. And I think that Bauer Sharp is going to be the catalyst in that passing game that'll really help us out. And when it comes to the other side of the ball on defense, this is one of those players who haven't showed up much in the box score, but because of the work that they've done, they're still creating a huge impact. That's Trace Ford. 2 weeks in a row, he's been our best pass rusher against SEC offensive lines. If I remember correctly, he actually forced one of the fumbles against Tennessee. He's been elite coming off the edge. He's been very hard to stop. He had another great game against Auburn. He's just been a very reliable force coming after the quarterback. And so with our Mason Thomas on one side, you get Trace Ford on the other. You're looking at making a Quinn Ewers sandwich on Saturday. And in turn, on the other side of the ball, you've got Colin Simmons. You've got Colin Simmons for Texas, true freshman edge rusher. He's already proving to be one of the best edge rushers in all of college football. He's racking up sacks like nobody's business. When he's not getting sacks, he's getting pressure on the quarterback. He's constantly putting up these great numbers. He's stopping the run. In fact, according to PFF, he's their number 2 overall defensive player. 11 run stops. There was a forced fumble that he had. He has 4 sacks on the year, 9 quarterback hurries. He's playing about as well as you could ever want a true freshman to play. And so he's my guy for Texas that I'm watching defensively. Who you got on both sides of the ball that you're watching, or on for both teams, I mean, that you're watching on defense?
So on defense, going to be Robert Spears Jennings for the Sooners. Really breakout year for him. Yeah, he was good last year, but he's been on another level this year, making plays in the secondary. I see Robert Spears Jennings being responsible for at least 1 turnover in this game. In all likelihood, an interception. You know, sometimes the DBs will get in on a stop past the line, but probably going to nail an interception in this one for Robert Spears Jennings. Texas, it's going to be Anthony Hill. He's the closest thing to Danny Stutzman that Texas has. 31 tackles on the year, 2.5 sacks. He is an impactful linebacker. He's good at really getting north and south through the line of scrimmage. He can go up against most offensive linemen, and there's not a whole lot of people he can't bring down, honestly. So we'll see how he does. I think he's definitely the one I pick. All this together, I think it's time now for us to make our OU Texas predictions. I saw earlier Texas was up to a 15-point favorite. That was a few hours ago. I don't know how that's changed since then. Before we make this prediction, I did see one thing earlier. I saw it on Twitter, and I'd love to credit the person that posted it. I don't remember who posted it. But it mentioned that in 2022, Texas was a 7.5-point favorite, and we were down a quarterback, and we had 2 losses. We've got all the really key guys this year. We've lost 1 game, and it was to a very good team. And we're double the dog that we were in 2022. So Vegas really liking Texas here. I think your smartest bet on this game is OU to cover. I would not take Oklahoma on the money line. I'm going to say OU covers that 15-point margin by a good amount. I've got Texas, unfortunately, pulling this one out 27-17. I don't know that our offensive line has the physical capability to stand up to Texas's pass rush, to stand against their defensive line for a full game. And as much as I hope Taylor Tatum brings a spark back to our offense in the running game, I just don't know that all the pieces are there for him to be able to do it. So Texas in a relatively close one, 27-17. Oklahoma comes away with a turnover or two, but I see our offense handicapping us again.
I agree with you completely, and I hate to say it. I hate Texas with every fiber of my being, but I just Texas, as much as I hate to say it, has been a really good team this year, and they probably deserve that number one ranking. I I think our defense will keep us in it until about I'd say about halfway through the third quarter, maybe towards the end of the third quarter. I think in the third quarter, the score will be like 13-10. I think we'll still be in it, but I think eventually that Texas offense is just going to prove to be too much. And I've got Texas winning 27-10.
Now, if OU were to win, what is the one thing Oklahoma would have to do to win this game?
Run the ball. Run the ball. Because Texas has one of the best run defenses in all of college football. Like you mentioned, they haven't faced a top 50, what's it called? Rush defense or rush offense. I mean, they haven't faced a top 50 offense. But despite that, if we can run the ball, if we have a game like we did in 2020 where we're averaging like 6-7 yards a carry, then it does not matter how well Michael Hawkins does. We can just run all over him.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think we're going to need at least 3 turnovers. We're going to need to take away 3 options
We needed it last year.
3 opportunities that Texas would have to score. Anything short of 3 turnovers, I don't see us winning this game, absent some other crazy circumstance, an injury or something like that.
Agreed.
I don't see it happening. But if somehow we pull off those 3 turnovers, I could see us hedging out a 21-17, 21-16 type win. But I would not take Oklahoma scoring more than 3 touchdowns in this game. If we win this, it's going to look like a classic Big Ten defensive slugfest, maybe reminiscent of the early 2010s SEC games, the 9-6 Alabama LSU game as an example. But in all likelihood, yeah, 3-2. In all likelihood, Oklahoma's going down, I think, which is really sad. I never like to see Texas succeed, but the 2 teams just really seem to be on different playing fields this year, this first year in the SEC. Looking across the rest of the slate here in week 7, 3 games that really caught my eye. A nice Big 12 matchup to Friday night between Utah and Arizona State. Both teams are 4-1. Utah, in all likelihood, will not be playing Cam Rising. That's going to end up killing them. Arizona State's going to walk out with this one. Penn State and USC. Penn State is going to out-tough USC. USC will keep this one close early. Penn State runs away and hangs around the longest because they are tough. James Franklin at Penn State has yet to lose in the regular season to a team not named Ohio State or Michigan. Going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. Yet to lose to a Big Ten team not named Ohio State or Michigan. And the last one, Oregon and Ohio State. Dylan Gabriel is going to turn the ball over in this one. Unfortunately, he's been pretty careless with the ball this year. Really uncharacteristic. You look at how he did last year and the year prior to you. Ohio State is going to take the ball away from him, and I think they're going to comfortably win this game over Oregon, probably by at least 2 scores.
I could see that happening, but who knows? Ohio State, they've been kind of slow this year, and Will Howard hasn't been what they thought he would be, but they're still really good. I've some games I'm going to be paying attention to. Number 9 Ole Miss versus number 13 LSU. I think I think that played. I think that game will come down to the final play. Both teams have the potential to blow out the other, and both teams have the potential to get blown out. It's just you never know how it's going to go. I think it's going to come down to the final play. Kansas State versus Colorado. Kansas State only a 4.5 point favorite. Colorado undefeated in the Big 12 so far. Kansas State, their one loss to BYU. So technically, right now, Colorado's ahead of Kansas State in the Big 12 rankings. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. And Penn State versus USC. I don't know. Lincoln Riley has done a complete 180. When he was at OU, he would have these great first halves where we'd put up 35 points, 40 points. And then in the second half, he'd put up 3 points and we'd end up blowing the game. 2020 Kansas State really comes to mind there. We were winning 35-14 and ended up losing 38-35. So I think, especially with how lackluster Penn State's offense has been, I think Penn State will jump out to an early lead, but I could very easily see USC coming back and winning this one. I'm not going to make a prediction in that one. I've got no idea who's going to end up winning that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I think Penn State's got the toughness to outlast USC, and those Big Ten games. So often it just comes down to toughness and your ability to persist through a game. So we'll see.
We all know how Lincoln Riley is with tough teams.
Oh yeah, we do. www.soonerpocket.com. Make sure to check it out. Great pregame and postgame content on there, as well as game recaps. Going to be hoping for a positive recap on there this week, maybe following a win against Texas. I would say the cards are stacked against Oklahoma this week. We've had the cards stacked against us before. Maybe we've got a little bit of Sooner magic left in that baton stick at the end of this week. So we'll see if we can get that out of there. Boomer Sooner, stay safe. And if you're going to Texas, have a good time, eat some good fair food. Once again, Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner.